Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and Julie Harris, we're back, and I have a great first announcement for you.
Yes, what is that?
Everyone listening, and I'm going to guess, between YouTube and all the other places that the podcast is broadcast, I would say there's probably going to be about 15,000 of you that are listening, so I have great news for all of you. The masterminds, or rather the meetups, are a huge success. We have, we're doing 50 of them in a matter of a couple weeks, and around the country in 50 different cities. So if you've not yet registered for your Harris Real Estate Meetup, make sure you do that in your local community, harrisrealestatemeetup.com, or you can scroll down below and click the link. Now, here's what's going to happen at these meetups. These are not formal events where you're sitting around in some hotel, assembly room, and there's somebody, that's standing in front of the room and, the whole thing. This is going to be a meetup. They're going to be casual. They're going to be focused on, with the folks that are attending are coaching clients, people from our eXp Realty family, obviously a lot of podcast fans, and you're going to be sharing ideas with each other and forming a lasting and hopefully a lasting relationship. Why is that important? Because one of your most important long-term sources of business and referrals, you might be surprised to know, are going to be the other agents in your community. At the very least, when you go to co-op and you happen to know the agent from having gone to a Harris Real Estate Meetup, and you're friends with them, you guys shared a drink and watched football or whatever it was, chances are that co-op's going to go a lot smoother than if it was a complete stranger. So go to harrisrealestatemeetup.com and RSVP for the meetup that's happening near you. These events cost you absolutely nothing. Now, if you're someplace where there is no meetup that's scheduled, no worries. Go and propose an event. Our events team will approve all events that are proposed, and then please do agree to host the event. And these events, again, are happening in a couple weeks, and make sure you attend harrisrealestatemeetup.com. And we're hoping to do 250 live meetups across the country this year. We're probably also going to be doing a few in Europe too. We're just seeing how that works out, probably in June, by the way. So for those of you who are in Italy, I know there's a few of you that wanted to do a meetup in Rome. We're probably going to help you do that in June. And by the way, we might actually be at that one live. So in any event, yes, go to harrisrealestatemeetup.com. So Julie, what is the topic for today?
Well, it's one of my favorites. It's called early warning signs. How do you maintain your momentum? Why are we talking about early warning signs? Well, it's so you can catch yourself before you lose that momentum.
All right, can we tell them a funny story?
Sure.
All right, when we moved to Puerto Rico,
I know where you're going with this.
5 years ago. Okay, so some of you guys have given Julie and I unearned IQ points.
Yeah.
Okay, and you think we're smart? We're smart at one thing, maybe two things. Right. We're smart at coaching real estate agents in maybe one or two other things. That's it. And I'll prove it to you. So when we moved here 5 years ago, we moved from Texas to Puerto Rico. And let me tell you, for sure, there could not be, and we were in somewhat rural, we were in real Texas. We were north of Austin, right? And in Georgetown. And so when we moved from Georgetown, Texas, where there were real cowboys carrying real sidearms and, people with real horses and ranches, and we had two cows. We had 2 cows and we had like 8 chickens. That's our lifestyle in Georgetown. Then we moved to Puerto Rico. Could not be any opposite. In retrospect, we probably needed to have our heads examined.
Yes.
Especially with what I'm about to tell you. So we moved to Puerto Rico, and within the first 30 to 60 days, you could pick it up from here.
Well, it was like 60 days in. We were woken up by like a 6.7 magnitude earthquake.
And not just one.
At like 6 o'clock in the morning, it was dark out. I remember hearing a thunk. And then the big shake, which, when you were asleep and you wake up, you kind of check, what, did I just dream that? I remember looking, and your computer on the desk was flapping like a sail. I mean, this was a major earthquake, right? And so what do? Well, I know what I did. I went right to social media, and then somebody said, wait for the aftershock. And then we had another one.
But that wasn't where it ended. No, there were more.
It was the month of earthquakes.
It was the month of earthquakes.
Every freaking day.
One after another, to the point where if I wanted to bother Julie, I just started to sway slightly.
Did you feel that? Yeah, that was fun.
All right, so So why are we telling you this? Because A, we didn't know that there were earthquakes in Puerto Rico. We didn't know there was a fault line on the other side of the island that, we didn't, who knew?
It was for reals.
That wouldn't have been the thing we would have thought of researching prior to moving to Puerto Rico, but there you go. No. All right, so all that said, now why are we sharing this with you? Because California, Puerto Rico, all these places that have earthquakes, there's these little things called seismographs. Seismometers, okay? And they're going to, like I said, we're smart in a few things, and knowing the difference between a seismograph and a seismometer is not one of mine, okay? So there's these little graphs, and I know this is true in California, that where they have these machines that are everywhere, especially over the San Andreas fault line and all throughout the desert. And what they do is they look for tiny, tiny little movements in the earth. Tiny, tiny little movements. And they know from the intensity of the movements, the frequency of the movements, they then can, calculate or basically guess, an educated guess, what might come later, right? Is it going to be a big earthquake, a small earthquake, or no earthquake at all?
What's likely and when?
Right. So those are early warning signs. And you have early warning signs for everything in life if you think about it. So Julie and I had this concept a few years ago, maybe probably 15 or 20 years ago now, coaching agents, that every human, especially in real estate, they have their early warning signs. You guys have your early warning signs of things that you're doing now or not doing now that are going to lead to a big one. It might be a big success or it might be a big failure. So that's the concept, and that's how it relates to all of you. The output from today's podcast that we're hoping you're going to take away is that you need to make a list, and longtime coaching clients, you know what I'm about to say, of what your own early warning signs are. And those in your own, and Julie's going to give you some ideas now, and those own warning, you should write all those down, and you should put those on your wall or wherever you are going to see them frequently. Don't put them in your computer and let them hide from you. Put them, write them down, and then check yourself against those early warning signs. Just to draw a loop, to close the loop. If you're looking for earthquakes and you see there's a series of small earthquakes and you know the series of small earthquakes, oh, that was no big deal. Oh, but shit, that one just happened right after that one, after that one, after that one.
Yep.
Wait for the next one, right? If you know what the pattern is of the early warning signs, you can effectively predict what's going to happen next.
Exactly, but you have to be looking for it. Remember I said I heard a thunk before the big earthquake?
Yep.
Well, what that was the grid shutting itself off because there had been a seismometer. They were monitoring for that. They saw that was going to happen, and they killed the grid before the grid got killed.
So now that you brought that up, so what does that mean when the grid gets killed and you're in Puerto Rico? There is no electricity.
It's mighty dark.
I'm about to tell you something that's true. They shut it off. I'm not making this up, listeners. They didn't know how to turn it back on.
Yeah, for like 3 weeks or
for
something.
3 weeks. We're out of electricity for about a month here in Puerto Rico. So here's Julie and I, fresh off the boat from Georgetown. A whole bunch of earthquakes. No electricity. Oh, I got even more news for you. The water is controlled by electricity. There's no in most of the country, there's these big water towers, What are those things called?
Water towers.
Okay, thank you. I got that right. Where basically the water, goes, it's gravity, right? In Puerto Rico, there isn't anything like that. So they have to pump the water through all the pipes under the ground, the whole thing. If the electricity goes off at the one power plant, nobody has water. So we had all these earthquakes. We had no electricity and we had no water. Oh, you want the best part?
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning. You want the best part? We were renting a place. We rented a place for 60 days or how long? 6 months?
It was like 6 months, yeah.
Yeah. And it had no generator. So we were camping in Puerto Rico for a good month after we moved here.
Yeah.
So we should have been paying attention to the early warning signs. Right.
I know, exactly. All right. So that's our long ramp up with our examples so that you can figure out your personal early warning signs that you might be headed for a crash or something radical. Okay. So I'm going to give you some examples. We're going to give you some examples. You might add to some of your own observations, your own personal examples. So for the first one, early warning sign, maybe you've started to blame everyone and everything for your lack of momentum. The market conditions, your broker, lack of inventory, higher interest rates, or what party's in office. Solution, put down your blame thrower and embrace these affirmations. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. And I'm a doer, I do things now, I get things done. In other words, get back to owning your own success.
So I want you to read that last Julie Harris quote because you've had a billion people that have said that one little right here has been very influential on their lives. So say it and explain it.
Yes. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. In other words, if it's meant to be, it's something that's important, it's up to me. And I'm a doer. I do things now. I get things done. That is your anti-procrastination affirmation. I use that all the time, actually.
I know you do. Yeah. Well,
It
because
works.
you used to be a chronic procrastinator.
Yeah, but you can't. If you say that even 5 times, I'm a doer, I do things, now I get things done. I'm a doer, I do things, now I get things done. You just can't not get things done.
And if you're somebody that's going to procrastinate, you're going to never get any business because, frankly, you're going to be getting a reputation of being somebody that's slovenly and lazy. That's a fact. The blame thrower thing, that's really important as well. So the concept is when you're trying to look for early warning signs, are you complaining about a lot of things? Are you hanging out with people that are complaining about things? Interest rates, politics. The last 5 conversations you have, if you can remember them, how much of the conversation was about complaining? And if it was, you're not going to attract to you the type of essentially people that are going to want to transact with you. You've become somebody that's overtly negative, and frankly, that's going to be a downward adult failure spiral.
Well, and if you think about it, I was just thinking about it as you talk. I think you do this too. We all do. There's a few people, there's not that many, that I know that they're chronic complainers and I stay away from them. Then they might be in your neighborhood or the gym or wherever. Because you have that filter on somebody else. So make sure that they're not doing that to you.
Complainers like complainers, though.
Yes,
That's the
they
thing.
do. You kind of tend to attract each other. So monitor, both online and off, your complaintometer.
I mean, for example, we've been talking a lot about the reports that came out about agents and all that this week. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you guys another example.
Sure.
Some of you guys blame your broker for your lack of success. That's not true. Your lack of look, you're listening to this podcast. You have access to our coaching program. You have access to our book. If you're waiting around for your broker to give you better information than you're getting from us, you are looking for someone to blame for your lack of activity. Mm-hmm. You already know that your success is going to be on your shoulders. You can't blame somebody else for that. You can't wait for somebody else to give you the chalice where all the secret, the golden chalice where all the answers will be.
Secret sauce.
Exactly. That doesn't exist. And also, if you're waiting for somebody to present to you an easy path to your problem, which is lead generation, closing transactions, being successful, if you're looking for shortcuts and you're not finding those shortcuts, or if you've chased some of those shortcuts and they've failed because, they never were really going to work in the first place, and you're blaming your failure on the fact that you are looking for a shortcut, you see how this is a constant loop of negativity? So anything that you're experiencing in life, and I know this is kind of a lofty standard to hold for yourself, that anything you're experiencing, whether it's good or it's bad, just say it's your responsibility. You manifested that. You created that in your life. I give this example, and I think because it makes the point. It's too extreme, but it makes the point. You go to Starbucks today. You drive your nice, new, shiny, whatever it is into the parking lot. You park far away from everybody else because you want your nice, new, shiny thing to stay nice, new, and shiny. You park in the parking lot. You go into Starbucks. You come out of Starbucks, and sure enough, guess what happened? Somebody hit your car. You parked in a safe place. You parked in between the painted lines. You didn't park next to anybody else. You weren't taking any undue risk. Somebody hit you. You were attacked. Your nice new shiny car is now dented and ruined, right? You didn't do anything to cause that, to bring that to yourself. You are a complete victim of this yahoo that decided to basically drive their car into your car. That is the wrong approach. Because what's going to happen is that type of thinking is going to spiral into other forms of victimhood. So again, I warned you guys this was an extreme example. Instead of saying, I was a victim of that idiot who hit my car, instead say, I am a victim of the idiot that hit my car, but ultimately it was my responsibility for going to Starbucks at that time, parking in that exact spot. Right? I mean, again, extreme example, but it is a way for you to hopefully reframe your thinking about what is not happening in your life, that you are manifesting that, or what is happening in your life, you are also creating that as well.
Okay. To make this, I 100% agree, because you have to own it. Again, the affirmation, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm a doer. I do things now. I get things done. So let's make this a real estate example real quick. Big problem I see right now. Almost all of you who are licensed more than 22 seconds have buyers who are either all cash or pre-approved or loan committed, even better. And the only reason they're not in contract is because you haven't found them something to buy. And what will you say to this point? Early warning sign, blaming everyone else. Oh, there's no inventory. There's nothing to sell them. And yet, I'm a doer. I do things now. I get things done. I have a buyer who is ready to buy. They're only not in contract because I haven't found them something, and they probably also come with a listing, right? Refer to our many podcasts about how to find inventory, find new construction, find somebody in your database. If they're not in contract, it is because of you. It's not because there's, quote, no inventory. If there was no inventory, how did we sell 4 million houses last year?
4.1, right?
Yeah.
And we're projected to sell at least 1 million more this year. We being, obviously United States.
All of y'all.
Well, so here's the thing. A lot of you have listened to the past podcast and are in Premier Coaching, and you know how to find homes that are not in the MLS that are actually for sale. And yet you're still trying to blame the lack of inventory on nothing in the MLS. Isn't that crazy?
Waiting is not the strategy that your supposed buyer clients think you're using.
I'm a doer. I get things done. I'm a doer. I do things now. I get things done.
That's right.
You guys get it?
Or you don't. It's your choice. All right, number 2, early warning sign. You're not exercising. If you're experiencing a lack of energy or feeling depressed or unmotivated, put one foot in front of the other. There's an African proverb that goes like this: when you pray, move your feet. So here's the solution. Get back to exercising, but make it even better for your business. Join Orange Theory, Zumba, CrossFit, or form a walking club in your neighborhood. Being around other people allows you to talk about real estate while you're getting back on your exercise routine. Start with a 1-week commitment and build from there.
I will caution all of you to, I'll suggest to all of you, Julie and I are huge advocates of Orange Theory. There's other similar programs, but definitely join something like that. Make that part of your lifestyle. It will change everything about you if you actually are, taking that seriously. And that means the ideal schedule, if we were coaching you personally, what I would suggest that you do, like a lot of us have the habit of working out in solitude, hoodies on, earbuds are in, you're not communicating with anybody. Okay, that's fine. You're at least getting the reps in, but you're not actually making the most of that time. You could be going to the gym, Orange Theory. You could be doing all your exercising and working out.
Expanding your center of influence.
Take your damn iPods out and then talk with other people, and you're going to unbelievably quickly start building a center of influence and start getting real estate deals. Some of the best deals you'll ever find in your life are going to be found at the gym.
100%. All right, number 3 warning sign. You're not following a profit-driven schedule. Hoping, waiting, or speculating for your next few transactions is not a plan. Your daily profit-driven schedule must include proactive lead generation, furiously fast lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, presenting, negotiating, and closing. Now, if you're not doing any of those last things on the list, it means you have to do the first and most important: proactively generate new leads. Nothing happens when you're leadless. So the solution, set a specific short-term goal of generating new pre-qualified appointments. If you need 3 new listings in the next 30 days, your short-term goal is to set at least 1 new listing appointment this week. What are you doing today to achieve that goal?
A quick warning for all of you. Mid-2024, there is going to be a massive change to the buying buyer lead, or really seller lead business. We've talked to you guys about this on our podcast and all of our coaching clients. There was a change to the FTC guidelines that effectively has made the companies that were generating leads online, buyer leads mostly, and selling those to you guys. I don't know how they're going to survive doing the same business model. Without getting into the weeds of how it actually works, here is your essentially your official warning. Learn to be a proactive lead generator. Learn to generate your own leads. The lead generators that are going to remain towards, over the next 12 months, maybe the Zillows and some others, they're going to be charging an arm and a flipping leg for those leads.
There will be fewer of them.
And there'll be fewer of them, and they're going to be extremely expensive. And you're going to wish you would have taken us seriously and learned how to be a proactive lead generator. All of you should be on that path right now. Don't wait for what I just said to become your reality. And the easiest way for you to learn how to be a proactive lead generator and make this your best year ever is obviously to join Premier Coaching. You can go to premiercoaching.com or scroll down below and click the link to join for free. You can join now for free for 30 days, an entire month. And yes, that does include a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches. So it's premiercoaching.com, or just scroll down. You can read along our show notes, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, does not matter. The notes are there, or over on our main website, timandjulieharris.com. And read along, and then the links are there. Or like I said, simply go to premiercoaching.com.
All right, early warning sign number 4, the overconsumption of negative news, association with negative people, or incessantly doom scrolling. How do you feel when you spend your time this way? And what's the solution? Well, follow a media-free morning or a media-free day. Unless what you're watching or listening to is in support of your powerful mindset, providing you valuable market or business knowledge, step away from that media. Curate your media through podcasts and newsletters relevant to your personal and business development, and dump the rest. So I have a few that I very regularly listen to or read every morning, whether that's an email newsletter or a podcast. Housing Wire, because they're all about facting, of course.
Housing Wire, by the way, it's really worth mentioning. Our friends at Housing Wire, guys, you know what? I am going to say it. Inman has basically become a lot of, essentially non-real estate news. It is mostly entertainment based. It's become somewhat of a TMZ for real estate. I would say that's 30% of it. They do have some good content, but what Housing Wire's done is they have become what Inman used to be, which is pure news, which is actual usable information that you can use for your buyers and your sellers. And they don't have any gossipy stuff. They don't talk about all sorts of things that are basically HGTV fodder that have nothing to do with helping you become, it's clickbait basically. Whereas if you go over to Housing Wire, the information is pure and it's also unbiased. I cannot think of a single time when I've listened to one of their podcasts, watched one of their videos, where I've sensed what their political bias was because they're actually providing real information. It is refreshing.
And it's very timely. I mean, I literally read them every single day because I want to know, what's happening with inventory, what's happening with prices, what's happening with interest rates, how are interest rates related to everything else. It makes you a better sales professional to, read and have facts.
You would think they're sponsors of this podcast, but they're not. We just gave them a free pitch because of the fact that we really love the job that they're doing.
Very
it's
reliable.
Something that the industry needs. Next point, Julie Harris.
Next warning sign, number 5, you're not making enough contact with people ready to transact. Are you conflict avoiding, contact avoiding, and hiding out from potential business? Solution, are you in a position to hear the word no every day so that you can hear yes more frequently? If not, you're not having enough conversations about real estate. You must make a minimum number of contacts every day to meet or exceed your goals. So if you have to do 18 transactions this year based on your real estate treasure map that you get in coaching, let's say that you have to do 18 deals. Then you have to make 18 contacts every workday until your skill drives that ratio down to a lower number. So follow the 5 solutions to early warning signs. You're going to be back on track. So let's get back to some of them heard 18 contacts a day. Holy tamale, how do I do that? Okay, so for example, Dan Burling, who one of my coaching clients, he makes typically about 40 contacts every workday. It takes him 2 to 3 hours, and then he sprinkles in some throughout the day. He does this religiously, calls his database. His wife is calling for sale by owners, expireds, and probate attorneys. They make regular contact. Why? Because it's in their regular schedule. It's part of the work they do. They're not weird about it. It's normal for them. Now, if that sounds like too many and you're not somebody that really makes any regular contact, start with 5 a day, but do it for 5 days in a row. And then the next week, do 6 a day for 5 days in a row.
By the way,
and build on it.
How many contacts should you be making a day? It's the same number of the number. It's your real estate magic number. So I'm going to kind of speak in Tim and Julie Harris cryptic code here. But when you join Premier Coaching, you will get the real estate treasure map, which is your fill in the blank business plan. One of the outputs to the point of doing the business plan is to find out what your magic number is. Your magic number is the number of listings you need at all times to meet or exceed your financial expectations. So for example, if you have an average sale price of $400,000, you have an average commission of $10,000, and you have 5 listings at all times, it's safe to say that at least 2, maybe even 3 of those are always going to be in contract. If your average commission is $10,000 before expenses and broker splits, and you're selling 3 per month, you're making $360,000 a year. I said all of that really fast. Go to Premier Coaching, join, do your own real estate treasure map. You'll know what I'm talking about. Now, here's what's interesting. The number of listings you need at all times to meet or exceed your financial goals and expectations, what you want to pay for, what you have to pay for, right, is the same number of contacts you should be doing every single day. So when Julie and I sold real estate, we had to have, did essentially meet or exceed all of our financial expectations, our goals, our plans, our lifestyle, the rest of it. We had to have usually around 25 to 30 listings. So that means every single day, Julie and I had to make 25 to 30 contacts. Now, if we didn't make 25 to 30 contacts, we didn't pay the price of that in a negative way for a week, maybe sometimes not even a month. But I promise you, 60 to 90 days into the future, our cash flow wouldn't have been, it might not be what it would have otherwise been because we missed that day of making contacts or that week or that month. We didn't actually make the effort, and we didn't pay the price right away because we were still living off past performance from the work that we did 90 days prior.
Yep.
It's where Julie and I originally, came up with the idea is if you're experiencing something now in your business or personal life that's really wonderful, you got to thank the past version of yourself. Like if you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, right?
In a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
In a good way. Or a bad way.
Or a bad way.
Right.
Works both ways,
That's
right?
true. Right. So you got to thank the past version of yourself from eating correctly and going to the gym and all the rest of it. If you're, to Julie's, funny point, if you're looking in the mirror and it's, damn, okay,
Right.
then you got the past version of yourself to blame. So the thought you should have is the future version of yourself 60 to 90 days from now. Don't think about 5 years or 10 years. It's too obtuse. 60 to 90 days from now, what does that person want to be thanking the present version of you for having done? It's going to be, guess what? Making those consistent contacts. If you made 5 contacts for many of you per day, it's all you really have to do. You only do it 5 days of the week, and you do it for the next 90 days, let's say. How many contacts is that? That's 5 contacts times 5. That's 25. That's 100 per month. That's 100 times 3 is 300 for the month. Do you think from all those high quality contacts following our scripts, calling, maybe centers of influence, past clients, all the other things we teach, how many deals are you going to pull out of that? It isn't 0.
Yeah. So great example of this. Kristen Holly in Fort Worth, Texas. One of my personal coaching clients had kind of a weird year. A lot of you guys had a weird year last year, right? But kudos to her because she put in the work. She had lots of, kind of Groundhog Day real estate days. Work, where's my results? And in the summer, it seemed like a lot of that. Rates had spiked, everything had kind of slowed down. She's in a little bit of an expensive price range. Where are the deals? Why has everybody got all these delays? Keep making the contacts, keep having the conversations, keep on your relentless lead follow-up. What was the result? She's able to say, thank you, past Kristen, for keeping on, because she had an amazing fourth quarter. And she's set up already having a killer first quarter. And where did all that business come from? Her past work. Well, and she would not have that experience had she gotten too frustrated too quickly and set those expectations and then went to the blame thrower and said, well, I guess nobody's transacting because the rates are too high.
But this applies to all aspects of life.
Yes.
All aspects, relationships, spirituality, financial, physical, mental, emotional. I'll give you a personal example. Julie absolutely kicked my ass at the gym this morning. Neither one of us like going to the gym. In case you don't see us on Instagram, we are not complaining necessarily. We're just truthing you how much we dislike it. Okay. But the reality of it is we had Friday, we walked 6 miles. We didn't exercise Saturday or Sunday. So back at the gym. So after 3 days of not doing weights and kettlebells, I was paying the price. So past Tim decided to take 3 days off from doing the hardest stuff, and now present Tim this morning was really paying the price. You guys get it?
But you did it anyway.
I did it anyway. I did probably 90% of it anyway, if I'm being honest.
But you showed up.
Right, exactly. Well, I showed up and I did the work, but you still kicked my butt today. The moral of the story is if you're not experiencing the abundance, the health, the wealth, the relationships, look, if you're not where you want to be in life, okay, in all aspects of your life, that's called normal. Mm-hmm. And you should forgive yourself for it. You should then recognize the fact that if you don't want to continue with that negative momentum, you can make the decision to make different decisions. That way, the future version of you is going to be thanking the past version of you for having done it. And it's sometimes the tiniest little micro things, the changes that you make that compound. Like, for example, make 3 contacts a day. Every one of you can do it. 3 contacts a day. Do the math. We know from the 300 contacts you made for those of you who are making 5 contacts a day, how many actual transactions will you generate from that? Throw out a guess. Let's just say you're not just doing just lists and just sold calls, right? Let's say you're calling centers of influence and past clients. Then you're calling the more target-rich type leads that we teach you in Premier Coaching. Can you effectively say, even if you're very inefficient, even if you're not really great at calling, even if it's the worst, most painful psychological thing you've ever done in your life, you're going to generate 10 or 15 real kick-ass leads. Probably realistically, most of you will generate between 30 and 50 from what I just said. How many closed deals, given your average sale price, do you need this year to make this your best year ever? I just told you how to sell, hypothetically, let's say you generate 30 leads, 10% for the 300 contacts you make. And let's say you only convert 15 of those to viable customers. And let's say only 10 of those people actually transact. And let's say that's 10 people that actually transact and your average commission is only 10 grand. You're making less than the average commission in the United States. How much money did you just make? $100,000 from what? Working for 90 days. You guys get it?
And only being okay at it.
And that's if you're terribly inefficient.
Yeah.
The average agent earned last year, I think, less than $10,000 because they were passive lead generators or not doing any lead generation at all. They were buying leads. They were waiting for pigs to fly so that somehow miraculously they were going to transact. Don't be that agent. Be a proactive lead generator. Look, guys, here's the thing that you can hear this sometimes. I'm not going to call it frustration, but it's sincerity in our voices. Real estate is without a doubt the best business anyone can get into for a host of reasons, but it's also, it is bizarre how complicated many of you want it to be. I don't understand why you make something that's so simple, so perfect, and so elegant into something that requires a billion steps, a billion filters, a billion landing pages, a billion obtuse marketing concepts. Why do you make it so damn hard? It doesn't make sense.
Well, they can make sense of it if they follow what we do on the podcast, which is just a snippet of what you get in coaching. So if you like what we do for you in the podcast, you know you want to be a coaching client. We talk about our coaching clients. We love on you guys all the time. The testimonials we use on this podcast are real. Those are from real coaching calls, real examples from the daily semi-private calls and sessions you have with your coaches. So just go to premiercoaching.com and become part of our coaching family.
That's right. And be amongst like-minded people that are, breathing the air of what's to come, because that's where you want to be. You want to have the forces that are keeping you complacent or maybe even pulling you down, the forces that are pulling the opposite direction. That's what we're all about. That's the reason we have, we educate you, motivate you, try to get you into action from this podcast. That's the reason we pull so hard. Every single day, Julie and I are doing a podcast like this. You love this podcast, you're going to be unbelievably blown away by Premier Coaching. So just go to premiercoaching.com or scroll down below and click the link to join. In the meantime, thank you for keeping this #1 listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.